Hello and welcome to my business channel. This video is all about WooCommerce versus Shopify, looking at which one is the very best. Now, I have made this comparison as comprehensive as I possibly can, covering multiple topics. If you don't want to watch the whole video, then please do check the description below where I've put a time indexed menu, so you can jump to the most relevant section for you. So, let's begin. WooCommerce versus Shopify. To put it simply, these are two of the most popular and easy to use e-commerce platforms available on the market today. Now, as we compare WooCommerce and Shopify, it becomes clear that both have strengths and weaknesses. So let's start with what's the difference between the two. When you search through Google for reviews of WooCommerce and Shopify, you'll find a lot of opinions from different business owners. Now, while these insights can be very helpful, the truth is that it really depends, and it will boil down to a few core differences as to which platform you choose. Now, for instance, the main difference between WooCommerce and Shopify is that Shopify is an all-in-one e-commerce solution designed to give you everything you could possibly need to get started online. Shopify takes the complications and technical aspects out of running an online business and replaces them with easy-to-use tools. Your Shopify store can be set up and running in a matter of minutes. However, this only means that you're not going to get as much granular control over your site. Now, on the other hand, if you are looking for a lot more customization options and control, WooCommerce is a self-hosted software for e-commerce. Now, this means that you can tap into the code and access various parts of your store. Now, WooCommerce gives you a lot of freedom to build everything into your store, and that is crucial for your team. It also means that you can run your business in conjunction with a WordPress blog. However, when you compare Shopify next to WooCommerce, remember that the freedom that you get from WooCommerce comes at a price. In other words, you need to know how to handle the technical side of your site and keep it safe. Now, if you are starting out as a beginner, you don't want to look at things like web hosting and hosting provider details, then Shopify is a good choice. If you want more freedom to experiment with your site and you're already using things like WordPress, then most definitely opt for WooCommerce. Now, Shopify is your choice if you want an all-in-one package for your e-commerce store that gets you up and running quickly with lots of great features and apps. Now, WooCommerce is for you if you already have a WordPress site and you don't mind taking more control over your store. Now, next up, I'll look at the ease of design. Now, design is everything when it comes to e-commerce stores. Customers simply don't trust a site that doesn't have the right aesthetic or doesn't function as well as it should. One of Shopify's greatest selling points is the visual quality of its themes. Now, in my opinion, they look absolutely great out of the box. Shopify comes with more than 54 different store templates, of which 10 are free. What's more is that each of the Shopify themes have unique variations. Therefore, you're technically getting more than 100 separate designs. The best part is that they are all mobile responsive, and they have a wide range of different colouring options as well. They also have a very fashionably sleek and clean aesthetic, which makes it perfect for modern, forward-thinking websites. Shopify's designs aren't created in-house, they are outsourced to a group of professional web designers who ensure that they are as current and as engaging as they possibly can be. I do like this approach because you can get creativity from a wide range of companies and people, making it a better selection. Unfortunately, the price tag on their premium Shopify themes go as high as $180, but what you get in exchange is a great design. Luckily, there are free options available too. Now, the instant attraction of Shopify designs can cause many webmasters to select the same themes. Some Shopify users who have designed a site themselves have later complained of looking a little too similar to other websites which are currently trading. Now, for that reason, customization is most definitely encouraged. Luckily, Shopify themes are easy to change. You can just quickly adjust colors and styles, while more adept developers can utilize the platform's specialized liquid language to make more substantial changes and really make a brand stand out. And even better, they do offer a theme editor within the platform that you can use for customization. Now, you can choose to hide sections within the theme editor without removing them. Hidden sections will still be customizable in the theme editor, but not as visible on the store's front end. This allows you to start sections for future releases and remove the need for theme copies, which is a common issue most developers face with WordPress. And moving over to WooCommerce. Now, as with many other aspects of the WooCommerce experience, when it comes to aesthetics, your world really is your oyster. You just have to put the hours in. Now, WooCommerce is a plugin created by the developers from Woo Themes and acquired by Automatic. Now, as such, it doesn't deliver any specific design traits on its own. However, what it does provide you with is the means to sell products and services online. The design part, however, is left to your current or future WordPress theme. Now, WooCommerce has been built to cooperate with most themes on the market, provided that they follow the standard recommendations and best practices. Now, this means that in most cases, you are able to select any WordPress theme that you like and still make it work together with WooCommerce. However, you will also come across themes that have been built with WooCommerce in mind from the get-go and are tailor-made to make all your product and service listings look absolutely amazing. Now, if the design of the e-commerce store itself is particularly important to you, you should look for themes that are specifically made for WooCommerce. Now, the best place to start would be Woo's own default online store called Storefront. Now, it's a really efficient creation that puts the focus on all the important elements of an e-commerce store. You can also get a range of child themes for Storefront in case you want to customize the look of your store further. Now, most of the child themes are available at $39 a piece. Occasionally though, there are WooCommerce themes with price tags as high as $119. If you're a developer with e-commerce clients, they have a package for $399 where you get all of the themes in the library. Apart from that, you can also look into marketplaces like ThemeForest, where they have hundreds of other WooCommerce compatible themes. To be honest, WooCommerce has a serious advantage over Shopify when it comes to designs. Shopify has wonderful themes, but they're limited to what you can find in the Shopify theme store. WooCommerce, on the other hand, is open source, so tons of developers sell or give away incredible WordPress themes for all sorts of industries and purposes. Next up in a WooCommerce Shopify comparison, price. So every webmaster wants slightly more bang for their buck, but the two platforms have really different approaches to pricing. Now, the main difference between Shopify pricing and WooCommerce pricing, to say this quite bluntly, Shopify pricing is very clear and straightforward. WooCommerce's isn't. On the other hand, WooCommerce is a free open source software plugin. Yes, the plugin is free, but then you have to consider the additional costs that go along with making an online store. WordPress is free as well, but you have to consider things like hosting, the cost for theme, a domain name, any additional extensions, and an SSL certificate. Shopify is all about delivering you a single out-of-the-box solution with just a few pricing packages. You sign up, then you get to use your shiny new e-commerce store right away, since everything you need is included from the get-go. As you can see, even though the WooCommerce software is free, running an actual e-commerce store costs. Basically the same as Shopify, if not more. But that's not all. You see, with WooCommerce, you might also have to factor in the additional extensions for things like SEO, more payment gateways, and so on and so on. Now, those extensions are usually around $49 to $79. What it all comes down to though is, although WooCommerce is technically the cheaper solution, it will require much more work to set up, and you'll need to be much more careful not to go over your budget, as every additional extension comes with a price tag. In the end, with WooCommerce, you're spending more time on setup and management, which translates to dollars. Time equals money, doesn't it? Now, Shopify boasts a much more conventional pricing structure. It has a sliding scale of packages, which offers users a range of different features up front. So you have Lite, which is $9 per month, Basic Shopify, which is $29 per month, and then Shopify, $79 a month, and Advanced Shopify, which is just shy of $300 per month. And last but not least, there are the transaction fees. In essence, whenever you sell something with either of the platforms, they will charge you a small fee for processing the payment, delivering the money to your account, and so on and so on. Now, these fees change quite often, so I won't get into that here, but just be aware that they do exist. They usually sit around 2 to 3% per transaction, but be sure to check the exact numbers before signing up with either of the platforms, so they do change from month to month. And next up in my WooCommerce Shopify comparison, we're looking at features. Now, while both platforms' approaches to pricing are different, they're relatively similar when it comes to giving your e-commerce site what it needs. Unlike a platform like BigCommerce, Shopify and WooCommerce are more basic with the e-commerce essentials built into the main software. However, both have solid app stores for installing any other features you may need. Now, although you will probably need to install apps to make the most of the platform, Shopify offers significantly more free options. In comparison, some of these free features, such as CSV uploads, shipping options, and bookings, will set you back up to $500 to $600 with WooCommerce. Now, looking at how WooCommerce helps you sell, as open source software, WordPress is well known for allowing third-party developers to create various extensions and plugins. WooCommerce taps into that further by offering lots of interesting and exciting additions. Whether you want to easily edit aesthetics, sell on Facebook, ramp up email marketing techniques, understand user behavior, or quite frankly do anything else, you'll be able to. At the end of the day, Shopify seems like a more laser-focused solution. Everything that Shopify offers is geared at making your online store more functional and easy to use. With WooCommerce, the platform is extremely feature-rich, and it doesn't lack any specific e-commerce features. However, it's still an add-on to WordPress, making it more complex to configure. In the end though, there's no clear winner here in the features department. Both platforms have everything that a standard e-commerce setup could possibly need. Next up, we're looking at the ease of use. Now, since we haven't had a clear winner when it comes to e-commerce features, maybe we can have one in regards to the ease of use. Now, the ease of use pertains to how easy it is to set up and manage a working e-commerce store with either platform. So how easy is it to use Shopify? So the main strength of Shopify is that it's a subscription-based online tool. In other words, to use it, all you need to do is to visit shopify.com, click the sign up button, go through a basic setup wizard, and you're done. Shopify is going to help you along the way, asking about the purpose, nature of your store, what you're planning to sell, and giving you some overall tips as to which design structure to choose and how to set everything up. Once you get through that initial wizard, you will get access to the main dashboard. It's from there that you can create your new e-commerce store, add new products, and so on. Overall, the whole process is very straightforward, and most importantly, you don't need any design or site building skills in order to get through it. Now, later on, once you have the store running, you can access every crucial option from the sidebar of the dashboard. Now, this sort of organization should make your daily work in the store very easy to grasp. When it comes to adding new products to your store, handling sales and orders, it's pretty intuitive. So for example, when adding a product, all product parameters are available from a single panel. So you don't have to visit different areas of the dashboard to set things like the name, the price, the images, the stock, the levels, and so on. Overall, Shopify is a solid solution, and the best thing about it is that you can sign up and create a store straight away with no unexpected interruptions. So how easy is it to use WooCommerce in comparison? So to some extent, WooCommerce is just as easy to use as Shopify, but there is a catch, a pretty big catch. And the catch is this: although working with WooCommerce on a daily basis is just as simple as with Shopify, setting up the store isn't. Basically, since WooCommerce is a WordPress plugin and not a subscription-based solution like Shopify, it means that you need to handle a couple of things before you ever get to work with WooCommerce itself. Mainly, you need to complete the following: get a domain name, sign up for a hosting account, you need to install WordPress, you need to find and install a WordPress theme. I think Divi is probably the best option right now when it comes to WooCommerce. And it's only after you've done all of those 4 things and taken care of all of that, you can then install the WooCommerce plugin on your WordPress website and get started through the configuration of your online store. Now, unfortunately, those steps do require some level of comfort around web-related things. After all, it involves setting up your web server, redirecting your domain to said server, and lastly, getting WordPress properly installed and made operational. To make that somewhat easier on yourself, you can choose a specialized WordPress hosting company that will take care of the domain and WordPress installation for you, leaving only the WooCommerce part straight down to you. Now, either way, it's all significantly more difficult than Shopify's one-click sign-up button. There's also the design. So WooCommerce doesn't come with any actual design. It's all handled via a WordPress theme of your choice. Luckily, WooCommerce comes with basically all themes on the market, but it's still on you to find one you like and install it on the site. As I said before, I think Divi is probably the best option for that. Now, about WooCommerce itself. As I said, the platform in itself is just as easy to use as Shopify. The second you get the WooCommerce plugin installed and activated, you'll see the on-screen setup wizard. It consists of 5 or so steps and takes you by the hand through every crucial element. Basically, it lets you choose the main parameters of the store and get everything neatly configured. For example, some of the important steps involve things like currency settings, shipping and tax, and payment gateways. Now, once the installation is done, you can start using your store and begin adding products. Now, which is easier to use, Shopify or WooCommerce? Now, because of the initial hassle involved with setting up a WooCommerce store, I have to give this round to Shopify, hands down. The fact that you can just click the sign up button and then have the whole store set up right there for you within minutes is very impressive in Shopify. However, once you're working with the store on a daily basis, Shopify and WooCommerce both present a similar level of ease. And next up, I'm looking at the level of support offered by both WooCommerce versus Shopify. Now, you have to consider the issue of technical support with any online venture. Now, Shopify is renowned for its high quality of customer care. Each client can enjoy 24/7 access to a customer advisor in case they have any issues or queries via email, open chat, or a phone call. Now, apart from that, you also get to access an extensive knowledge base that covers some of the most common user questions and problem solutions as well. Now, the matter of support with WooCommerce isn't as straightforward. So first off, WooCommerce is a free WordPress plugin. This means you can get support through the WordPress forums. However, at the same time, the WooCommerce team also enables everyone to create a free user account over at WooCommerce.com and get support there. There are also tons of blogs on the internet that cover WooCommerce topics. Overall, WooCommerce is great for people who don't need to speak with a rep, but would rather complete their own research online. In the end, I have to give the support round to Shopify again. Nothing beats 24/7 access to a real support person. So next up, I'm looking at SEO, search engine optimization. So any website that wants to make a splash needs strong SEO. Luckily, both contenders here have a lot going for them. Now, how Shopify helps with SEO is Shopify may come second when we look at the overall volume of SEO features available, but there's certainly no shame in the way that it presents content. It also handles basic SEO practices like meta information and site copy with ease. So as long as your business is producing quality content, there's no reason to suggest you won't enjoy great results and strong user engagement. Site-wide, there are plenty of ways that Shopify proves to beat WooCommerce in the SEO game. It's actually renowned by a lot of developers for having the cleanest code and natural linking structure, which offers a smooth user experience and in turn enhances visibility in search engine rankings. What's more, Shopify is fast. Because it's a hosted platform that's built on huge infrastructure, Shopify offers each of its webmasters rapid loading pages. As a result, shops stand a much better chance of ranking well and a better chance of leading customers to conversions. Now, how WooCommerce helps with SEO is WordPress is primarily a content creation platform, and it's renowned by SEO experts as one of the most reliable options available. It's easy to add and edit content and meta information to ensure that pages have a strong chance of ranking for specific keywords. With plugins such as Yoast SEO, you can make your WordPress site highly optimized and be in full control of every little tiny detail that's SEO related. WooCommerce takes advantage of what's already there in WordPress or what's available through third-party plugins like the plugin Yoast SEO that I mentioned earlier, or the WooCommerce dedicated version of the Yoast plugin. In the end, WooCommerce gives you more SEO specific options overall, purely because of the fact that it is built on top of WordPress. The only problem is that your site speed largely depends on the hosting you go with. Because of this, the SEO category goes to Shopify. You don't have to worry about optimization, and your speeds are always going to be top notch. Next up, I'm looking at payments and fees. It is an undeniable fact that the payment processing is the center, the very core of your e-commerce business. Regardless of the type of products or services you deal with, the end goal is always converting visitors and facilitating their subsequent transactions. Thankfully, both WooCommerce and Shopify offer a wide range of tools to help you with that. These two are not the same though. When you compare WooCommerce next to Shopify for their transaction handling, it turns out that they've implemented varying systems and fees. Now Shopify comes with its own payment processing capabilities, and WooCommerce on the other hand also happens to boast a couple of distinct transaction privileges. But which of the two offer better payment processing options? And where do you stand to incur less on your transactions? Shopify or WooCommerce? So looking at the Shopify payment processing, Shopify might be many things when it comes to payments, but despite the numerous payment processing options it offers, there's one that consistently towers above the rest. You see, Shopify decided it couldn't just sit and watch from the sidelines as other apps handled the most critical part of online selling. It had to get in on the action, and so Shopify Payments became a thing. Shopify Payments is currently the default payment processor on the platform. You'll notice it comes inbuilt on your Shopify dashboard. But make no mistake, Shopify doesn't double up as a payment processor. Shopify Payments is only a payment application that's powered by Stripe. So although the service might feel and smell like Shopify at the top, its transactions are essentially processed by Stripe in the background. Going by its resume, Stripe is indeed a dominant force in the card processing space, and has so far handled different types of electronic payments for almost a decade now. That fundamentally makes Shopify Payments a flexible processing solution capable of handling a wide range of cards. In other words, you should be able to accept pretty much all the major credit and debit card payments without any problems. Simply connect Shopify Payments to your bank account and begin accepting payments. It really is that simple. And no, you don't have to worry about setting up additional security systems. Now, in case you haven't heard, Shopify is certified level 1 PCI DSS compliant. And that, in layman terms, means Shopify Payments is a real badass when it comes to protecting your customer card details and preventing CNP fraud. Now, don't get me wrong though, Shopify Payments is not all about CNP transactions. It goes above and beyond online transactions to handle even in-store card processing. Therefore, if you set up a supplementary brick and mortar store through Shopify POS, you'll still be able to leverage Shopify Payments for in-person card payments. And that's not all. It's possible to sell on the go as well. Thanks to Shopify's mobile app, with Shopify Payments backing you up, your phone basically transforms into a mobile cash register that can accept card payments anywhere. Okay, so hang on a minute now. While Shopify Payments is indeed a pretty versatile payment processor, it turns out its whole concept of accepting payments anywhere might not be technically accurate after all. And here's the problem. Shopify's payments is only accessible to merchants based in the UK and US, Spain, Singapore, New Zealand, Japan, Ireland, Hong Kong, Canada, and Australia. Now, while it's great that customers can make payments from anywhere, let's face it, Shopify Payments is nowhere close to becoming a global payment solution. It excludes a lot of countries from its merchant list. On the bright side, however, at least it's not the only processor on the Shopify platform. Although Shopify predominantly favors its default card processor, it hasn't left out other options. The platform is generous enough to support a wide array of third-party payment processors. Now think of any prominent e-commerce payment solution and you're bound to find a distinctly specialized app version that integrates with Shopify. Combined, there are more than 100 payment providers here, including PayPal, Amazon Pay, Authorize.net, WellPay, you name it, they got it. Now, since there's something for every notable territory, you shouldn't have any problem getting yourself a suitable payment processor. Consequently, if you're looking to handle transactions from your site, you might want to stick with a direct provider. But if you prefer redirecting your customers to a third-party checkout page, you'd be much better off with an external provider. Their subsequent card processing fees, however, are not standard across the board. What you end up paying over the long haul depends on your specific provider's fees schedule. So you might want to pay very close attention to their respective rates before you eventually make your mind up. And while you're at it, you'll notice that the idea of using a third-party payment gateway instead of Shopify payments doesn't sit well with Shopify. It even penalizes you by charging you an extra rate of 2, 1, or 0.5% above your payment gateway's fees for each transaction. Well, if you computed what you stand to lose over a prolonged period of time, I bet you'd seriously consider sticking with Shopify payments. But then again, going by its online transaction fees of 2.9% plus 30 cents for basic Shopify users, you'd probably be tempted to seek a cheaper solution. And in case you're wondering, things are not that different for other Shopify subscribers. Shopify Payments online credit card processing rates for Shopify plan users are 2.6% plus 30 cents, followed by 2.4% plus 30 cents for advanced Shopify subscribers. Well, at least things get cheaper when you compare Shopify Online versus Shopify POS. In-person credit card processing rates for basic Shopify are 2.7%, followed by 2.5% for Shopify subscribers, then 2.4% for advanced Shopify. And let's not forget the transaction fees that are levied separately from Shopify's standard subscription charges. And moving on to the WooCommerce payment processing option. Now, while comparing WooCommerce against Shopify for payment processing, there are many differences that you can see between the two systems. Now, it also turns out there are a couple of notable similarities as well. Now take inbuilt payment processing, for instance. It just so happens that WooCommerce also gets you started on card processing by availing the services by default. As a matter of fact, it even outshines Shopify by offering two different options, PayPal and Stripe. Now, from that alone, it's quite evident you won't be getting a WooCommerce specific payment gateway. PayPal and Stripe essentially come as add-ons that you can choose to embed directly onto your online store. Consequently, you'll be able to process transactions conveniently without directing shoppers to third-party checkout pages. That said, we can agree that PayPal and Stripe are both solid payment processors that have been tried and tested. The bulk of WooCommerce online stores should be comfortable with either of the two solutions right off the bat. You don't even need a merchant bank account to get things up and running. But in case you'd want to try a different service, WooCommerce is more than willing to let you proceed freely. PayPal and Stripe are just the first two of many options. This means WooCommerce supports way more payment processing solutions, most of which could be simply integrated through plugins. That means WooCommerce supports way more payment processing solutions, most of which could be simply integrated through plugins. In essence, your capabilities here are endless, because you can also get all the major gateways. It's also possible to go beyond online selling by leveraging Commerce POS for in-store transactions. And yes, it accommodates a range of providers that offer in-person card processing functionalities. Once you identify a suitable gateway, simply install its add-on, then connect the service with your merchant bank account, and voila! You can proceed to handle transactions on your online store without paying WooCommerce even a penny. Now don't get too happy though. The transactions here are not entirely free. Although WooCommerce won't charge you anything, the correspondent payment processors will. Now their fees, however, differ from one provider to another. So the big question is, who provides the cheaper transaction fees, Shopify or WooCommerce? Well, comparing WooCommerce and Shopify payment processing, it's not quite that simple. This is one heck of a close contest because they are both very flexible and reliable when it comes to handling transactions. Now, Shopify Payments is an incredible, powerful inbuilt service, and the same applies to WooCommerce's default selections, PayPal and Stripe. Now, it's also worth noting that both platforms give you the privilege of dropping their default card processors for third-party alternatives. WooCommerce boasts of an extensive collection of third-party integrations, and Shopify, on the other hand, avails its own rich array of options through the Shopify App Store. So, in the end, you're bound to find a favourable payment solution on both Shopify and WooCommerce. Now, that aside, the WooCommerce versus Shopify payments battle ultimately comes down to their respective transaction fees. Although most payment gateways apply the same transaction charges that Shopify and WooCommerce sites, the former often ends up being more expensive. The difference boils down to Shopify's supplementary transaction rates for users who stray away from the default Shopify payment service. And come to think of it, WooCommerce and Shopify payments would have ended in a tie if Shopify wasn't so uptight about Shopify payments. But let's be honest and call a spade a spade. Accepting card payments is bound to cost you more on Shopify than with WooCommerce. And moving on to security. So security is a huge concern when running transactions online and through your own store. Now, big problems can occur if your site is compromised. You'll also have some situations with customers if their data is compromised. So how do WooCommerce and Shopify stack up in the security game? Now, WooCommerce doesn't technically have any security measures included with the plugin since it runs on WordPress, so most of the security falls in your own hands. So for instance, you would have to get your own SSL certificate and ensure that your hosting company has secure servers. You'd also want to configure site security plugins, two-factor authentication, and some other things to protect your site fully. Now, Shopify, on the other hand, covers all security measures for you. Therefore, you don't have to think about getting a SSL or ensuring that your site is being hacked into. You should, however, make a very strong password. Shopify is PCI compliant right out the box, while WooCommerce can become that way if you utilize the right tools. You can also add security badges on both, and Shopify might be easier to use than WooCommerce, but that's the only thing that you really need to think about when you're looking for the best. You can also add security badges on both, and Shopify might be easier to use than WooCommerce, but that's not the only thing that you need to think about when you're looking for the best e-commerce solution. When you compare Shopify and WooCommerce, you also need to consider security. When looking at any popular e-commerce platforms, a high level of security should always be a massive priority for any good business owner. And remember, you're going to be handling transactions with crucial customer details and money. You need to make sure that the choice you make between WooCommerce and Shopify is the one that allows you to fully protect your customers' best interests, details, data, and money. Now, the good news is that, like a lot of things with Shopify, their service takes care of your security. Because Shopify is a hosted solution, Shopify deals with handling any safety issues for you, making sure that you're safe from those horrible hackers. On the other hand, WooCommerce works brilliantly with WordPress and is self-hosted. Now, that means that there's no security just built into your service from day one. You need to handle the security on your own with a hosting provider or by yourself. Another thing to keep in mind from a security perspective with WooCommerce when comparing against Shopify is that Shopify comes with a SSL certificate, which is built in for free. Now, SSL is a secure sockets layer, which basically gives you what you need to safeguard your website and stop information from being tampered with by criminals. Now, Shopify's built-in SSL means that whenever someone visits your website, they'll see a little padlock graphic next to your URL. The benefits of having this certificate are significant. First, you get security when you're processing personal information and payments from customers. Secondly, you get a significant boost from your store SEO. And the Shopify SSL also lets customers know that you're giving them a safe browsing experience. WooCommerce, on the other hand, doesn't provide its own SSL. As part of the WordPress solution, which is open source in nature, you need to find your own security, including a SSL certificate. Now, the good news is that you can actually get a certificate through your hosting provider. Now, some hosting companies even offer this certificate for free. Another security point to consider is PCI DSS compliance. The Payment Card Data Security Standard is an essential consideration for any business owner. You need this compliance to ensure that your website is set up to accept all credit card payments in line with the latest regulations. Now, Shopify is completely PCI DSS compliant, and you don't have to worry about setting up anything. You can just start processing debit and credit card payments in no time at all. Now, on the other hand, you can't automatically get PCI DSS compliance with WooCommerce. However, you can make your WooCommerce site compliant if you want to by following some very basic steps. Now, although WooCommerce can give you all the security features you need, you will have to do more work to get them. And that's why Shopify, yet again, comes out on top. Next up, I'm looking at how long does it actually take to build an online store, comparing Shopify and WooCommerce. Well, both platforms have been developed to offer an easy and straightforward way of setting up an online store. Now, how they get to achieve this, however, is very different. Now, Shopify, for starters, uses a full stack approach. It's a comprehensively provisioned platform with all the tools you need to create an online store across multiple channels, host your website, as well as manage the entire business. WooCommerce, on the other hand, comes as an open source shopping cart that principally transforms a WordPress site into a fully fledged online store. However, it doesn't offer any website hosting services. Instead, WooCommerce is all about availing e-commerce functionalities on WordPress. Now let's compare the individual approaches of both WooCommerce and Shopify, actually looking at that question, how long it actually takes to create an online store with each of them, and which one has proven to be faster and more dependable. Since Shopify offers the full pipeline, you can start from scratch and then build your way to the top. The first step, of course, is signing up using your credentials. Apart from your email address, Shopify will request for your store name as well as its corresponding details before proceeding with the registration process. Well, that should only take you a minute or two because there's nothing complicating about entering your own personal details. And once you've signed up accordingly, Shopify immediately directs you to the fun part of its dashboard, designing your own online store. The first stop, of course, should be Shopify's theme library. It offers a collection of about 100 pre-designed website themes, as I mentioned earlier, stretching across all the major business categories. Now, finding a perfect one for your site should not be difficult at all. The free and premium options here are very neat and beautifully designed with a modern touch. Then next comes the customization stage, where Shopify gives you the privilege of using its visual drag and drop website builder to then tweak your layout elements to get them just how you want them. It's engineered to offer you all the flexibility you might need without compromising its overall simplicity. Nonetheless, the amount of time you spend here depends on the level of customizations as well as your website size. A basic storefront, for instance, might take you about 5 to 10 minutes to define all the element attributes. Now, after that is the final process of adding products to your online store through Shopify's dashboard. Simply go to the products page, enter your items, specify their respective properties, and then save them accordingly. And that's all it takes to create an e-commerce site on Shopify. Although 15 minutes should be enough for a very, very basic storefront, give yourself around an hour if you intend to customize its layout extensively. Now, comparing that to creating a WooCommerce online store, and as I've mentioned already, WooCommerce is basically a WordPress plugin that can only be installed after you set up WordPress on your own domain. Now, to do that, the first stop should be finding a hosting platform. Find yourself a reliable provider that specializes in WordPress and WooCommerce hosting. Now, WooCommerce focused packages offered by hosts like SiteGround and DreamHost even come pre-installed with WordPress plus WooCommerce. Now, most providers, however, will possibly give you a cPanel plus its one-click WordPress installer. So to roll out WordPress, simply click on the installer app and the system will handle the rest automatically. The whole procedure usually takes a few seconds to install and launch WordPress on your domain. Now, once you log into your WordPress account, you can go ahead and embed WooCommerce from the plugins area of your dashboard. Just search for the WooCommerce plugin, then proceed with the subsequent installation and activation procedures. To help you with the store setup process, WooCommerce will launch a wizard as soon as it's activated. You can jump right into and specify your online store elements, including the site pages, the product attributes, the payment methods, and so on and so on. Ultimately, you'll have yourself a complete e-commerce site with its own product pages, and the entire setup process, including customizing your store pages using a compatible page builder, will take you around about one afternoon. Now that is a moderately short period of time, but admittedly much longer than the Shopify's online store setup. Moving on, looking at which one is faster, Shopify or WooCommerce. Now, creating an online store is simple on both Shopify and WooCommerce, but after comparing their procedures further, Shopify has proven to be miles ahead of WooCommerce. Well, WooCommerce offers a friendly setup system, but in all fairness, it's not as intuitive as Shopify's. You see, Shopify uses a well-streamlined framework that takes you through the entire pipeline from the beginning to the end in the fewest steps possible. Now compare that with WooCommerce, which requires you to switch between multiple systems. Before you finally get your store up and running, you essentially start with domain setup, then WordPress installation, followed by WooCommerce plugin activation, before you ultimately customize the nitty-gritty. That said, it's worth noting that the time you take to create your e-commerce site depends on not only your skill levels, but also the corresponding approach. So making the choice between WooCommerce and Shopify is tough. One big consideration for a lot of business owners will be how quickly they can get their shopping solution up and running with each piece of software. Now after all, you don't want to spend 2 weeks learning how to use your new software. So in the battle of Shopify versus WooCommerce, which is easier to use? Now Shopify is a lot easier to get to grips with if you're an everyday user. That's because everything that you need already comes built in and ready for you to access. Now there's a lot less fiddling required with Shopify simply because it's a hosted platform. Hosted platforms in the e-commerce world take care of a lot of the technical aspects of operating your store, from your domain name to the security certificates that you need to give your audience peace of mind. Shopify includes everything that you need for your e-commerce website, even in their basic plan. On top of that, with Shopify, you don't have to worry about installing, managing, or updating any software on the back end. Even your backups are handled for you. On the other hand, WooCommerce requires you to do a lot more of the legwork for yourself. You need to manage your own content management system, which can be a little overwhelming, especially if you're not very confident from a technical perspective. Now, Shopify designs its dashboard to support the non-techie users out there in managing their store. So in the battle of Shopify versus WooCommerce, this means it's going to be a lot easier for you to start building your website if you are using Shopify. You can design a customer-winning Shopify store in minutes. The ease of use of Shopify means that it's definitely going to be a lot quicker and more accessible option for beginners. Although you can build a great store with WooCommerce, you're just not going to get the same simplistic experience that you can get with Shopify. WooCommerce makes setup more time consuming by forcing you to think about things like hosting, WordPress, site creation, and a lot more. So if you're starting from scratch and your skills are limited, you're not going to have the best experience with WooCommerce. Another good thing about Shopify when it comes to the time to build is that you can check out the features for free before you start looking at different payment options. Now, this means that you can get to grips with your CMS and ensure that it's right for you before you invest. So if you made it this far, then well done, because this was one hell of a long video. So the big question is Shopify the best e-commerce platform? Because it's won a lot of categories in this video that I've covered. Now, one thing for sure is that Shopify is extremely popular and online merchants love it for its exceptional balance between user-friendliness, flexibility, and practicability. But let's be honest, in all fairness, Shopify is not for everyone. Now, large enterprises, for instance, would be much better off with WooCommerce because of the unlimited flexibility offered by its open source architecture. So, in a nutshell, it really does depend on your precise needs. So in conclusion, when comparing WooCommerce with Shopify, so comparisons like this are never as straightforward or as cut and dry as you may think. When I talk with clients, my recommendations always fluctuate depending on their specific situations. Now, here are my recommendations based on the type of user that you are and what you expect from your own e-commerce platform. So I would say go with Shopify if you appreciate a hands-off approach where you could just sign up and have an e-commerce store launched as a result of it. Go with Shopify if you don't want to have to deal with any of the setup yourself and you don't mind paying a fee to have everything taken care of for you. Go with Shopify if you don't want to have to deal with any of the setup yourself and you don't mind paying a fee to have everything taken care for you. Again, go with Shopify if you want a highly optimized solution that's in no way worse than what the competition has. Go with Shopify if you want to have a reliable and fast responding support team at your disposal, just in case you have any questions or anything goes wrong. Go with Shopify if you basically don't care about any of the technical details of your e-commerce platform. You just want it to work as expected and be accessible to all customers and on all devices across mobile and desktop. So that's Shopify. Moving on to WooCommerce. Go with WooCommerce if you want to be in full control of your e-commerce store. Go with WooCommerce if you want to have access to thousands of site designs and thousands of plugins that will enable you to extend the functionality of your store. Go with WooCommerce if you don't mind spending a couple of hours setting things up and you're not afraid to handle the tasks required on your own, or you've hired someone to do that for you. Go with WooCommerce possibly if you only have a minimal budget to start with and you want to do everything on your own. And that was my comparison with WooCommerce against Shopify. Which one would you choose? That's all for me, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the two platforms. Have you ever switched from one to the other? Or maybe you have questions related to the topic of WooCommerce versus Shopify? I'd love to hear from you, so please do leave me a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please do smash that like button and subscribe. If you did watch the whole thing, wow, really thanks for watching. I'm sure you probably only watched part of it, but either way, yeah, again, thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, and until next time, cheers.